Welcome to the Leaders Cafe, where leaders come to discuss the latest trends and issues in leadership, team building, and the future of organizations with your hosts, Todd DeVoe and Dan Scott. There we go. How's that?
It was
a preview, right?
Kind of was, yeah. I like the putting the little bit of extra length on my name there. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So this is just a preview of what we're going to be bringing with the Leaders Cafe. It's a new, well, not really new. It's a program that Dan and I have been working on for a couple of years now in various different formations. And the idea of it is getting together, bringing a cup of coffee, taking that sip, sitting around and enjoying conversation. It's about stuff that we like to talk about. And leadership is a critical part of what we do. And yeah, this is the Emergency Management Network. We're presenting this. However, it's broader than just emergency management. So whether you're in EM space, in business continuity space, in organizational leadership space, I think you're going to be able to pull some great stuff out of here. I know Dan is working diligently on completing his PhD in public policy. I'm working on my PhD in public policy, and it just seems like it's a trudge for sure, but I think it's worth it. But pulling a lot of great information out of those programs. So we're going to bring guests on from all sorts of disciplines when it comes into what it is about leading organizations. So Dan, what do you what do you get out of this, and what do you think we're doing here with Leaders Cafe?
I think ultimately what I get out of it is the engagement. I mean, I get to continue to the conversation, and the conversation leadership is always enlightening, to say the least. I mean, leadership in general is so universal, that we can apply it anywhere. But the biggest thing about it is the engagement and the actual, active process of applying it and learning how to apply it better, and developing yourself and growing as an individual and as a professional. And it's the leadership aspects of that we do. This happens to be, brought to you by the Emergency Management Network, but leadership in general is so universal, it can be applied everywhere. But I can also be the same thing about the emergency management. So I think the aspect of just having the conversations and being able to grow and hear different people's point of views and how they do things. And if we can learn and apply those to what we do, I mean, leadership is so fluid in what we do every day that if we're applying it correctly, that we can be as fluid as that. We can change our approaches, we can change our views, our thinking on things. And I think the study of leadership brings that out. So that's what I get out of it. I get the engagement process, the actual exchange of ideas and opinions, and in the networking. That's what I'm hoping to be able to bring to the audience is networking, collaboration, engagement. My goal is to really give people a challenge to be more proactive, to be more engaged in any process, like as far as how they apply leadership, how they study leadership, what they do, but with us, giving us ideas, giving us concept, engaging with us, talking through ideas, promoting this is extremely important. And I think me and you're on the same page there. So I mean, what do you think? So let me ask you the same question. I'll turn it back on you. What do you get out of it?
What do I get out of it? Man, well, you know me. I like to ask questions and I like to explore, right? And I'm constantly trying to learn and better myself in all areas, not just here. And so I want to say that I can be that like thorn, not on purpose, right? Because I'm just curious as hell. And so when something occurs, I start to unravel that sweater. I'm the guy who's like, oh, look at that string. What happens if I pull on it? And it keeps unraveling. I go, oh, what if I pull more? Next thing you know, the thing that used to be a sweater is now just a pile of yarn, right? And you go, oh, did you ruin that sweater. Well, I may have ruined the sweater in the sense that it is, but now it's in a different format and we can rebuild it to make it something better. Maybe it turns into a hat or something that you need. And so I don't think that when you're looking at formation of things that they have to stay as permanent as they are. In a way, when I mean that is challenge things, challenge the way things are thought, and that's what I like to do. And so doing this probing program of leadership is challenging the notions that are there of what leadership is. And there are a few things that are out there that I think are interesting. When I was working for American Medical Response way back in the day, and they sent us to this thing called Leadership University. And every time if you got promoted to supervisor or whatever and different levels, they send you to Leadership University. And this was back in, like, for me, it would have been 98. So I got out of the Navy in 97, got hired by AMR 98, became a supervisor in 99. So 99, right? I had to go through my timeline. So like 99, I became a supervisor. And, the point about that was this organization, right, who at the time was the largest EMS provider in the nation, saw value in sending its employees through leadership training. And so that's that. Go back a little bit further. When I was in the Navy, when I got promoted to petty officer third class, which is E4, same as a corporal in the Marine Corps rank wise. We went through leadership training there, and because where I was, we didn't have petty officer indoctrination course. They sent me through corporal school, right? And so I got to learn about leadership the Marine Corps way. And one of the things that they instill into you is that at every level in the organization, there are people that we need to develop leadership skills into, right? And I think that's what we need to be looking at here when we think about organizations, whether it's city government, hospitals, public health, county government, whatever, right? At all levels of what we're looking at, private, public sector, doesn't make a difference. That we need to be instilling leadership qualities into our employees when they are first in to the organization. And we learned that in boot camp, in the Navy. We learned that and through NCO training with the Marine Corps. We learned that through the training that you learn as an EMT. The 18-year-old kids that are going through EMD school, we're teaching them leadership skills. So it's leadership, and the concept of it isn't like this you strive to become a leader one day, right? Leadership is something that you should strive to have today, no matter where you are in your structure, or no matter what job that you have. You should be striving to learn about leadership and how you can better apply yourself, and how you can apply leadership principles to wherever you are. And that's what I get out of Leaders Cafe.
Well, I think, for me too, and I appreciate what you said. And the military has always been real good as far as like incorporating that leadership, and because it's a rank structure as well. So it's not just here's your rank. It's also here's how to apply that and understand, the leadership concepts in which you're now being tasked and responsible for when it comes to the people that are under your command or under your structure. I think as an individual, we need to be applying it more, but we need to be encouraging it as well. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to do just a little bit of, is to encourage people to not only think about it, but to actually apply it, to actually, be out there. And it isn't even good to have a skill if you don't use it, because that skill will go away. You can be really good at something, but if you never do it, you're not honing it. You're not making the skills not getting better. You're not getting better. That's not benefiting anybody else. So how turning that thinking of leadership into the application of leadership and to the promotion of leadership in others, so hopefully we can gain that type of influence to be able to push a little bit of people outside that comfort zone, because sometimes leadership overall is just making sure that you're beyond that willingness to step outside that comfort zone and do what needs to be done when no one else is willing to do it.
Well, let's not equate position to leadership, right? So that's, I think, the important part that I like to really delve into. Gosh, I can't speak English this morning. I like to delve into, right? Is just because you receive a rank, right, or a position, say supervisor, at your store or whatever, it doesn't mean that doesn't come hand in hand with leadership, because there's, we talk about managing, and management is managing things and people, right? Like, not people in the sense of
Did I say
where they're at.
is that what I insinuated?
Yeah, a little bit.
I did not.
You said rank. You said rank.
I said no. That when it comes to military,
right,
military is different. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not true even in the military. You could get people
It
to get
is.
promoted.
It absolutely is, because they include you get rank, and people see that as rank, but that doesn't necessarily make you a leader until you learn to be a leader.
Thank you.
And they teach you to be a leader. I didn't.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Of all the years you've known me, when have I ever said rank is important when it comes to leadership?
No, I didn't think you said that. I don't think you said that.
I mean, let's get, ultimately, the rank is applied. You get that rank, and then they teach you how to be a better leader to apply it in those who you oversee. Not necessarily, here's your rank and now you're a leader. I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form.
I know you don't.
Overall, I know you don't. I believe, it's a level of, here you have achieved this rank. Now let's apply this leadership to those who may, come under you or fall under your level of responsibility. But I know you don't. I know you don't believe that, Dan. I don't feel like it's done in organizations overall. Overall, some organizations are like, here, we're promoting you to a manager or supervisor or whatever, but they don't give you any leadership capabilities or training, and they just expect you to know. Where you want to go from being a doer to a teller, and it's like, there's no training behind it, and that's what I appreciate about the military, is that they give you that training behind it. Not necessarily that everybody applies it, but they give you that training. That's kind of what I was pointing at.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I want to kind of go back on the military thing too, is there's also a thing called positional leadership, where you might not hold the rank, but you are the expert in that particular thing, such as, say, a corpsman, right? For instance, you could be an E2, corpsman, 8404 or whatever. And I know they changed the NECs. Everybody out there who's currently in, I know that doesn't exist anymore. I'm an old guy, right? So the 8404 position, and in the medical sense, you're going to be the guy, right? Or the gal, depending, you're going to be the person that's making that call, right? The lieutenant or the captain or the general can come over to you and start telling you what to do, but you're like, no, sir, this is my call. Medically speaking, this is what we need to do with this patient, and they're gonna defer to that, right? So that E2 might be in charge of that situation, and you know what? And to put that into perspective, that E2 needs to have that confidence, right? That when the captain comes over and starts barking orders at them or whatever, that they can look at them and say, no, sir, right? This is, medically speaking, this is what we're going to do, because I am the highest medically trained person here in this room. So, and so just kind of put that.
No, I like that. I appreciate that point of view, because it's important, and having that speciality and that training and expertise, it definitely should be considered when making decisions as well, especially if others are ranked, they outrank you, and being able to have that permission, really, too, to say, I don't think so, because it needs to be done this way, because this is based on my experience as a highly trained individual in that specific specialty. I think is great. But let's go back to real quick, you being the old guy in the room, because you're the old guy in the room, and everybody should know that you just celebrated your birthday 3 days ago, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Old man, and he's wearing a hat because he's going bald. So everybody should know that. You don't.
Ow, Daniel.
You could be a great leader and not have hair. Is kind of, it's kind of, I wanted to, for all those out there who are challenged, they should know they can be leaders too.
Thank you. Hey, the reason why I'm losing my hair is because I freaking have to lead people and I have to pull it out all the time.
Sometimes that'll do it. I mean, mine's receding a little bit. Yeah. So, but mine's great. I mean, you're older than me, Todd, and you're by 10 years at least, And look at this. Look how much white and gray I got in here. It's the same thing. I mean, it's, you know,
Right.
you get to a level and it's like, you know, you definitely look older than you should. I mean, look at this. I used to have blonde hair. Now it's gray and white, you know, so, you know, it's
You can always
definitely,
get that. What's that stuff? The stuff that you
yeah, dyeing it in and brushing it in. I don't know. I never really, I've thought about it, but I don't think I'll ever really do it, you know, but, yeah, you know, the leadership, it is stressful. It can be stressful to be a leader, and to have other people rely on you and to rely on your decisions or your mentoring or your opinion all the time. But you know what? It's one of those things that you gladly accept as someone who truly loves serving others. You know, does it get stressful? Absolutely. Is it worth it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when you get into it, I think that to be a good leader, right? It's more than just going, okay, I take this one class or I did this, whatever. It has to be a lifelong development of yourself, because like, even, let's kind of go a little bit to the side here. If we take a look at our elected officials sometimes, and everybody goes, well, you're the elected official, you're the leader, right? But they're over their head sometimes in situations, right? And so, as somebody who's serving the community, sometimes that includes serving those elected officials. And yes, they're going to be the ones that people look to for whatever, right, during this time. But you need to help them be able to become good leaders. And so, again, that's helping others learn and be better at what they do is something that we can do all the time. And I think, as somebody who is a student of leadership, we could take those stuff that we've learned and apply it. I mean, if you look behind me, there's a ton of books, and I know Daniel has a bunch of them behind him, and I have a bunch more. But consistently reading about leadership, there's a reason why that's like what the number one area of in books, right? Leadership. Every year there's tons of books that come out on leadership, right? And there's a reason by it. There's a reason because people are constantly studying, learning new ideas, and sharing them. And I think that's another good idea, a good principle of leadership, is to continuously learn. And I think, Daniel, I know that you're a learner as well. How do you instill that concept of learning to others?
For me, because I haven't always had the mindset that to be a continual lifelong learner. I mean, I was 30 when I went back to school, to actually go to school for a degree. Before that, I spent the first, out of high school and stuff. I was a reader at a very minimal level, but I read. What interested me was leadership books. So it wasn't. I was out always looking for. I was not a big reader. I was never a big writer. I never looked to go to school. Until I got a mentor that said, you know what, you should really read this book. You should look at, outside the Bible, I didn't read a whole lot. And then when I did start reading, it was based on leadership because of my job. I needed to, okay, how do I better work with people? Because overall, I don't like people. It's honestly, it's like, it's not a thing against anybody. It's me. It's one of those things. I'm a very shy guy overall. I'm very introverted. And so I had to learn how to come out of that shell and engage people, to talk to people outside of, in the line at the coffee shop, walking across, a store when I was working on a college campus, to be able to stop and talk to a student or talk to a fellow coworker. Those were things I did not want to do, that I had to learn how to do in a way that wasn't off-putting, because I'm a very gruff individual, and I've had to learn how to apply different concepts. And it's not just leadership. I started studying. It was communications, how to read people, persuasion, influence, how to engage someone who doesn't want to be engaged, how to lower defenses, how to lower my own defenses. So there's a lot of things you can learn out there outside of just reading about leadership, communications, right. Body language. There's marketing, which is a huge thing for me now, on how to really get people's attention, and how to keep it, and then how to influence them to understand why it's important to them that they understand these things. And I'm not trying to sell them anything other than safety, right? The emergency disaster preparedness, and how, to take care of themselves and their families. So it's learning these things and taking the steps, but it's the willingness to do so. But not everybody's willing. So how I've done it is I've taken the approach of, I ask flat out, like, hey, are you a reader? Because not everybody is. And if they are, what do they read? Do they read articles? Do they read magazines? Do they read books? Do they watch videos? And getting an understanding of what it is what engages them, what they look for. And then, because I watch videos too on YouTube and other things. And so it's easy for me to say, you know what, this would be a really good article for you to read, or this would be a good magazine for you to check out, or this would be a good book for you to go and get, or and even more so because I buy extra copies of books so that I could give them to people to say, hey, listen, I have this extra copy. You should really read this book. Really pay attention to this chapter, and having that. And it's not necessarily to say, here's how you get better. It's to give them that little bit of encouragement to where they seek it. They start to seek it like I did. I started to seek it out more than I ever had before. And it was due to someone saying, you should really read this book. You should really look at taking a class on this, and that promoted me to like really understand the benefit of it and how it benefit not only me, but the people that I interact with, and how to be better and how to serve better. Right. I've always wanted to be a person of service, and leadership is just that. I mean, it is being of service to other people, and depending on how you do it and where you apply it and where you work, it could be at a different level. But what is do you really truly have a heart for serving others and becoming the leader that they need, and more than that, they want right. to follow and to look to and to cherish as a person that is in their life of influence. So for me, it's just being that. It's just giving them that little bit of encouragement, a little bit of influence, and ultimately some guidance that pushes them in a direction that they can then find their own way. I don't need to tell them, you need to go do this and you need it to be this way. I don't want to be telling people what they need, right? My goal is to encourage what they want, to lead them to what they feel that they need. And then if I can do that, I've done my job.
What are people going to get out of participating and listening to the Leaders Cafe?
Well, I mean, I think they're going to get different opinions, concepts, thought process. They're going to get different points of view. They're going to get resources, which is always a huge thing. Be able to get resources on where they can go get more advanced reading or guidance, or you're going to hear from those who practice leadership all the time, such as myself and you, Todd, and then you're going to hear from those who are really influencing the field of leadership, and they're going to be getting to hear from certain individuals throughout these shows that really influence us and influence the field of leadership, the organizations in which they represent, and then being able to just think a little bit more outside the box. It's the encompassing of a different line of thing. It's not linear in one way. And I think by encouraging and engaging in this show, listening to it, watching it, you're going to hear a lot of beneficial information and education along the way.
What would you say, or how would you measure, I guess, for lack of a better term, how would you measure the success of what we're doing here with Leaders Cafe?
You know what? I think it's successful just because of the fact that we're doing it. I mean, whether anybody listens or not, Todd, the fact that me and you are engaging in a process to do so, to better ourselves and to better others, whether or not they benefit from it or not, I think we're being successful. What I would like to see as a benefit of that is people, our audience growing, our engagement growing, people who are learning and applying the concepts of what we're talking about growing. That in itself would be a benefit that I could see in doing it. But overall, I feel it's successful just in me and you having this conversation right now and putting it out there for everybody to see. That we're not doing it behind closed doors. We're being very transparent in our conversation, in our concepts, in our ideas, in our vision, I feel that in itself is a step of success. And I think it can be measured depending on how many people come in and see that. But whether they see it or not, I feel very good about what we're doing.
Yeah, I want to kind of again lift the veil a little bit of some of the stuff that we're doing in the background, and even though it's not quite hashed out yet necessarily. But what are some of the things that we're going to be doing here with the Leaders Cafe that's going to be unique and outside of the proverbial box way of doing stuff?
You're asking me. Okay, I thought you were going to.
No, I can say it too. I can say it too. But
so there's actually a few things. So as everybody knows out there, so me and Todd are now doing this Leaders Cafe together, and it's taking the place of the Todd DeVoe concept. But you think the Emergency Management Network and the Theory into Practice, or the Daniel Scott and Associates, we are combining. We're doing a collaboration. So it's going to be a collaborative event, and we're going to be doing networking events. So we're actually going to be moving around and hosting networking leadership events. So we actually get to come together, like-minded individuals, over dinner and drinks, and you get to hear from individuals like myself, Todd, others in the industry. Will be putting out dates and times and speakers that will be at these events, where they're going to be held at. And so we're going to hold these networking events. We're going to be doing this podcast here. We got the newsletter, and we have a membership of the Emergency Management Network newsletter on what's the site you got it
Substack.
on? I keep clicking on it.
Substack.
And then you have the collaboration between us in overall, just to make you better for those who are viewing or listening. Our goal is to make you better and to engage you but our goal in doing that is having these events, doing the newsletter, having the membership, which is huge benefit, by the way. You get to see and hear things that others do not. So take advantage of the Substack through the Emergency Management Network, and Todd's doing great work there. Anything you want to add to that, Todd?
And don't forget your summit.
Oh yeah, the Theory into Practice has the triannual leadership summits that we're going to be bringing to you on a regular basis, featuring lots of great leaders and professionals in the field. Some of them are emergency managers. Some of them are just organizational leaders. Others have a specialty in storytelling, marketing, business development. So it's not just EM. It is leadership overall. But EM is my background. It's my passion. As far as I'm passionate about so many things. But when it comes to how you make yourself better, leadership and EM are pretty much on the top of my list. And having them to come together and be able to educate and inform other professionals on how they can apply these concepts. And that's the big part of it here. We want you to think about these things. We want you to hear us. We want you to learn, but we want you to go out and apply it, and that's big for what we're doing.
Yeah. Some of the stuff I want to be doing, it's kind of, well, some of the stuff I want to bring to the table here as well is, different concepts that you probably wouldn't think of when it comes into leadership. For instance, storytelling is one of those that I've been really enamored with the last, say, 2 years of what this means. And if you think of like a good speech, like a TED Talk or those things, the ones that you remember are the ones that are associated with stories. And how can leaders envision and use stories to build better organizations? And so we're going to be doing a little bit of that as well here, bringing in various different storytellers and how we can apply this. And so I think that's some of the out of the box thinking that we're doing here as well. And of course, we'll be bringing in the typical guys like Eric McNulty. I know that he's listening, and the group over there, and other leaders that you might have already known, but to just get maybe an intimate relationship with them based upon what we're doing here with the Leaders Cafe. And those are some of the visions that we have. This is why we've been working hard to bring this to you. It's really been a concept that we've been working on for over a year now, and just waiting for the right time to roll it out. And this is the time to roll it out. This is our soft roll. We'll be doing some additional stuff here shortly. So that's where we're at. And Dan, I'll let you close us out because we're at the 30-minute mark, and that's what we said that we'll take the time. We'll do.
All right. Well, and I'll just kind of second what Todd says. Our goal here is to really, but it's to bring you these things, but it's also to encourage the involvement in them. So we want to, bring you these events, but it doesn't do any good if nobody comes. So our goal is to get you there and to get you thinking outside the box. And we're going to be bringing some new concepts, some things that you don't really think about all the time. I've probably never been involved in, some things you've never heard of. And our goal here is to just promote that involvement, that engagement, and be just thinking outside the box. We want you to step outside your comfort zone, and we want you to do so in such a way that you are the best servant leader, best leader in general that you can be, and just to be a part of that with you. So overall, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us on Leaders Cafe. We hope that you could come back and hear us again, listen to us again if you don't get to watch us live. And I hope you'll go on this journey with us, but be a part of it, engage with us, interact with us, reach out to us. We want to hear from you. So connect with us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and reach out to us, in direct messaging. So you can also email us and subscribe to the Emergency Management Network newsletter. Subscribe to, go watch the Theory into Practice summits. Look for these invitations and these events that we're going to be hosting. Reach out to us about hosting an event in your area. Reach out to us, be engaged, be in the process, and let us help bring leadership to you.
Absolutely. And as always, everybody stay safe and stay hydrated.